There's a mistake you make 3 times a day. You make it without thinking. You made it this morning. And every time you make it, it darkens the mood you'll be in 6 hours from now, long after you've forgotten you did it. You've spent your whole life blaming your mind for those moods. The heaviness before your feet hit the floor. The short fuse over nothing. The gray that rolls in around 4 in the afternoon for no reason you can name. But the signal didn't start in your head. It started 18 inches lower. In an organ you were taught was just plumbing. And after 50, that organ goes quiet in a very particular way, which is exactly when this one mistake starts to cost you the most. In a moment, I'll name the mistake. It isn't sugar. It isn't stress. It's simpler than either, and almost nobody connects it to their mood. I'll show you the nerve that carries the bad news out of your gut and delivers it straight to the part of your brain that decides how you feel. And I'll show you exactly what changes on day 1, day 7, and day 30 once you stop making it. Stay with me. This is a transmission worth decoding. Here's what nobody tells you. You have a second brain. Not a metaphor. An actual network of around 500 million nerve cells lining the wall of your gut. It has a name, the enteric nervous system. And it's the only organ system in your body that can run itself, on its own, without a single order from your skull. And it talks, constantly, to the brain in your head. Think about the language you already use. A decision that sits wrong in your stomach. Dread you feel as a knot in your belly. The gut feeling that arrives before your mind has caught up. You've always filed those away as figures of speech. They're not. They're status reports, coming up from below. I want you to picture a man, 61, blamed the mood on his marriage first, then on the weather, then on his age, decided this flat, short-tempered version of himself was just what getting older feels like, and quietly made peace with it. He was wrong about all 3. The thing dragging his mood down every afternoon wasn't in his history or his hormones. It was in what he'd been feeding and what he'd been starving. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The cable running between your gut and your brain is the vagus nerve, the longest nerve in your body, wandering out of the brainstem and down into the wall of your gut. For years, we assumed it carried orders one way, brain giving commands to body. We had it backwards. Most of its fibers run the other direction, upward, gut to brain. Your belly isn't waiting for instructions, it's the one doing most of the talking. And what it says depends entirely on who's living down there. Your gut is home to trillions of microbes. When they're diverse and well-fed, they take the fiber you eat and ferment it into compounds called short-chain fatty acids, molecules that calm inflammation and keep the gut wall sealed tight. One of them, butyrate, is the main fuel the cells of your gut lining actually run on. It's how the wall keeps itself intact from the inside. That's a quiet gut. And a quiet gut sends calm signals up the vagus. But starve those microbes, and the colony collapses. Diversity crashes. The fuel runs out, and the cells of the gut wall can no longer hold their line. The seal between your gut and your bloodstream loosens. Things that were meant to stay sealed inside begin to slip through, and the body reads them as a threat. Inflammation rises, and low-grade body-wide inflammation is linked, over and over in the research, to low mood, to anxiety, to that flat gray feeling that never quite has a name. That's the transmission. A troubled gut does not stay in your gut. It rides the vagus straight up to the emotional centers of your brain and colors everything you feel that day. So here it is. The mistake you make 3 times a day. You feed yourself. You forget to feed them. Modern eating, the soft, processed, convenient food most of us live on after 50, is almost fiber dead. It fills your stomach and starves your microbes at the same time. And a starved colony is a low-diversity colony. That's the mistake. Not eating badly in the way you've been told to worry about. Eating in a way that quietly wipes out the very colony keeping your mood steady. And here's why it lands harder after 50. Microbial diversity naturally thins with age. the gut wall grows a little more permeable on its own. So the same fiber-poor week a 30-year-old shrugs off sits heavier on you. The margin you used to have is gone. The mistake that was invisible for decades finally starts showing up in your mood. And here's the part that should stop you. We keep calling this a discovery. It isn't. It's a rediscovery. The old traditions placed the seat of emotion in the belly, never the head. In Japan, the true center of a person, their courage, their composure, their spirit, was the hara, the gut. To lose your temper, in the old language, was to have your belly stand up. In Chinese medicine, the digestive center was tied to thought itself, and worry was said to knot the middle. Ayurveda built its whole model on Agni, the digestive fire, and taught plainly that when digestion goes dark, the mind grows heavy right along with it. And it wasn't only the East. The physician the West still swears its oldest oath to is said to have taught, more than 2,000 years ago, that all disease begins in the gut. Historians still argue over whether he put it exactly that way, but the line survived 24 centuries, and lines don't survive that long by being wrong about everything. Every one of them pointed at the same organ. Long before anyone traced the vagus nerve, before anyone could see a single microbe, they had already located the mood in the gut. Modern science didn't uncover this, it caught up. So sit with this for a second. How many mornings did you write off as just a bad day? How many times did you apologize for snapping, blame your age, blame your wiring? Tell yourself this is simply who you are now. And the whole time, the answer wasn't in your character. It wasn't in your head. It was in a colony you'd been quietly starving, 3 meals a day, for years. Now hear this part clearly. It is not your fault, and it is not fixed in place. Nobody told you the gut had a vote. The food was engineered to be convenient, not to feed the microbes that steady you. You were never handed this transmission. But your gut is the fastest remodeling system in your entire body. The colony that took years to thin can begin rebuilding in a matter of days. You didn't break something permanent. You just stopped feeding it, which means you can start again. Let me show you what this looks like. The correction is almost embarrassingly direct. Feed the microbes, not only yourself. Every meal, add one thing they can actually ferment, a fibrous plant. Not a supplement first. Food. The rougher and the more varied, the better. Leafy greens, beans and lentils, oats, onions and garlic, berries with the skins still on. Variety matters more than volume, because different microbes feed on different fibers. A wider plate rebuilds a wider colony. One rule, one plant, every plate. That's the whole discipline. Then, once that's steady, bring in the foods that carry live microbes in directly. Real yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso. Because you're doing 2 jobs at once here. Fiber feeds the colony you already have. Fermented food sends in reinforcements. One rebuilds, the other reseeds. And after 50, you want both working for you. The margin's too thin to lean on just one. Here's the arc I'd watch for. Day 1. Nothing dramatic. And that's the point. You've simply stopped the mistake. The starving stops today. Day 7. This is where most people first feel it. Not a lightning strike, a subtraction. The 4 o'clock gray isn't as thick. You take a half-second longer to react to the thing that usually sets you off. The floor beneath your mood feels a little more solid than it did a week ago. Day 30. The colony has genuinely shifted. More diversity, more of those calming short-chain fatty acids, a tighter gut wall, less inflammation riding the vagus upward, and the baseline you'd resigned yourself to, the one you'd quietly labeled just getting older, begins to lift. Not because you fixed the brain in your head, because you finally fed the second one. So the next time a dark mood rolls in and your hand goes up to blame your mind, pause. Ask the older question, the one the Hara knew, the one Agni knew. Ask what you fed the colony downstairs, because you were never at the mercy of your moods. You were just listening to the wrong brain. Tell me down below, how old are you, and where are you watching from? And give me one honest word for how your mood usually sits by late afternoon. Heavy or steady? Drop your word and your age. I read these, and I'll tell you what the colony's likely doing.